Hello and welcome to Platos Cave on WZZR, coming to you from Australia. Yes, that's right, that non-existent crisis actor land on the other side of the ice wall for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. We're actually in a bunker on the Denver airport, in case you're wondering. Come and visit us. Why don't you? See if you can find us. Home to ideas that are fresh, uncensored, maybe even. And conversations in the chat room. I should be there in just a moment. I'm not in there now. I'm just trying to get in. Just trying to find my bearings. You know, when you get older.
There.
When you get older, you get older, brother. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the station is not actually beholden to anyone, which means that there are no official sponsors, either governmental or otherwise. That also means that you, the listener, are pretty much the sole source of income for the station. So if you can donate, please do. If you can't, I dig it. I get it. It's tough out there. I mean, this is no longer a joke. Cost of living, that's a thing. It's we'll talk about that in a second. So maybe you can't donate. That's okay. Just tell people about the station. Some of those people might be able to donate. The more people know, the more people listen. Hopefully the more people like, and if people like, and if they can afford it, maybe they can donate. That would be cool. Today is the 21st of May, 2024. 2024. And it's got significance now this day. We'll talk about that as well. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line, all the time, and on your smart device. That's right. A device that runs your life. Go on, try to live your life without your device. I dare you, for a week. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on the Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. But you know what? Archives are free. Another good reason to donate or tell people about the station. I think it's awesome. I mean, free. I mean, seriously, who gives you free stuff anymore? Nobody. Nobody. There's always some kind of hook or, some kind of gotcha. And no, it's free. Go in there, listen all you want. No, well, there's one gotcha. You might learn something. It might change your life. So that's a fair warning right there.
That's pretty
Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for David.
It's not surprisingly the Darkinjung.
Thank you, sir. For myself, of course, it's the Dark people. And we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Thank you very much. And I think it's the first time I called you David, ever.
Yeah, it freaked me out a little bit.
Right? You got the sweats? You got the day
sweats?
I
thought I was in trouble.
Mr. Dunger!
Yes. So that's not so bad.
Actually, it's not too bad, right? Mr. Dunger's okay.
Yeah, that's right. Danger Man, like I was called in high school at football.
Danger Man. They didn't call me Danger Man. They called me many things, but Danger was not one of them. I'll tell you why it's a significant day today, a historical day, in fact, the 21st of May. 21st of May 2024. 21st of May 2024. It's the first time that an Israeli government official was issued an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court. Never happened before.
And so was Hamas leader as well.
Oh, no. That has happened before. That's nothing new.
That's happened.
Yeah, we know that one. Old news. So that actually that happened. So you ask yourself, wow, that's unprecedented. And Joe Biden, crazy Joe Biden, he was addressing, I think, a group of Jewish people. I can't remember. And he said that it's an outrage, and also that what's happening right now is not genocide. Let's just look at this for a second, Dave. So, I mean, what's happening?
Monetization. That's all right.
I don't care. Think about. Now, well, look, I mean, I have an opinion, but look, you're in the world as much as I am, right? And I encourage the listeners in the chat room to tell me what they think as well, please. We have witnessed now for the last, I want to say almost 8 months now, really, October, right? So an onslaught on Gaza. I mean, tens of thousands of Gazans have died. A lot of them women and children, which puts a serious dent into the next generation of Palestinians. Is what's happening, in fact, genocide, or is it just a justifiable war action with regrettable collateral damage? That's really the question here, right? So on the one hand, you've got a regular self-defense of Israel. It's justifiable, and anything that happens in the commission of this defense is unfortunate collateral damage, right? That's one opinion. Okay. The other opinion is no. Well, this is actually, I guess, in my opinion, at least, premeditated genocide. Premeditated, I can't prove, but I've got a gut feel. As far as the genocide is concerned, well, if you have this extreme disproportionality of response to anything, it is not on the level. In Australia, if somebody breaks into your house, and it's the case in most countries, I think, if somebody breaks into your house and attacks you with a claw hammer, you can defend yourself with a claw hammer. You're not allowed to shoot them, right? Or at least that's what the law says. There should be a proportional response. The police also need to be proportional. That goes out the window, of course, when you go after a woman in a Zimmer frame that
that's right.
comes at you with a kitchen knife.
You should have seen how fast she moved.
Oh, brother. It's just, maybe it's too soon, I don't know. But I just think it's beyond the pale. But that's neither here nor there, right? But the proportionality of the response is what is critically important. Okay, any death is one death too many when it's violent death. Okay, I want to say this from the start. Any death that is caused by violence or crime or war is one death too many. Any death. Okay, just to be clear on this. But arguably, 1,500 Israelis died in October. Okay, well, not really arguably, they did die, right? That many died, and hostages were taken, etc., etc. And then Israel went into Gaza, and at this point, I think the death toll is about 35,000, thereabouts, which many people fear is going to increase dramatically as the activities in Rafah, which is the southern. It's always been like a poor area of Gaza. But that's where now 2 million Palestinians are huddling in the streets, wherever they can, to be honest. And if Israel goes in, as it did go into the rest of Gaza, the 30,000 or 35,000 will seem like a very tame number over the next few months. So the question then becomes, is it genocide, or is it just collateral damage? Dave, I mean, it's a serious question. What do you think? I mean, let's discuss this.
Look, it is worth discussing, and I agree with you there. The leaflet campaign, that seems to have gone well. I wonder how many of those in Rafah read the leaflet to say that there are people coming and they're going to shoot you if you're there. Best to get out and move to this area. Look, who's going to claim in the books of history, looking back in 100 years' time, who's going to be the bad person here? And I always look at it like that. I know that the US does a lot to leave a paper trail. It doesn't matter how awfully inaccurate it was, but they leave a paper trail nonetheless. The leaflets, warnings, that's a paper trail in a way.
Yeah. So
it's something that you could argue in court, I suppose. Is an eye for an eye enough? Probably. Has it gone too far? I'm also going to argue probably. Maybe it's gone far enough. Probably. Who's going to rebuild it? I've seen the pictures. There's really nothing. Is the question that I ask, and I'm going to preface every question that I ask from now on openly, so the AI who examines our transcripts and just deletes videos for no reason whatsoever, mistakenly, of course, without appeal, though you get an appeal button, can listen to this and understand that I'm raising a question here. And the question is it right to do what Israel has done? That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. As people who have so much history in being abused by everybody, by living in a town, in an area of land completely surrounded by haters. Is this what you want? Should maybe, and I'm postulating, maybe a people who have had that kind of treatment should reflect upon themselves. I'm not saying that anyone is innocent here, and I'm not saying anyone is guilty. Hamas was given Palestine to rule over that area. It's their fault then, I suppose. If you wanted to argue it legally, they're kind of the owners of it. They should have moved the people out, or people away, the innocents away. This is the big problem, and I think we're going to see a lot of this come out. If this trial goes in a world, in worldview, if it happens, I'll be a monkey's uncle. If both sides represent each other formally in that context. Is this going to be in The Hague or something, Meki, do you think? Because I forget where that is. I think the World Court's Hague. So
The Hague. Yeah. It is.
All right. So if it is there, will both parties recognise that as having jurisdiction? That's number one. Number two, will they do anything about it? Number three, will it stop it from occurring? Because one thing you could ask the people who are the Israelis, I suppose, right? You could ask them, at what point is enough enough? It's the same, I would ask the same of Russia and in Ukraine, and saying, are you going to give the land back after you've freed it from what you called the special military campaign, which was really wiping out Nazis? That's what they claimed initially. That's gone by the wayside. Are you going to give the land back when you're done? Because sounds like you're just taking land. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. So what's going on here between Israel and Palestine? What's really happening?
The cynical answer, in my opinion, I think the right answer, the truth. It's not the right answer, but the truth. Look, both for the Ukraine and for Gaza, it's similar. In Ukraine, well, Putin wants the Ukraine. He wants Odessa. He wants access to the Black Sea. He wants the Crimea. He wants all those things. Okay? That's what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
All of it, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so also, and I know this is going to cause a lot of people to hate, which is fine. I got no issue with that. But I do believe that the right wing, I'm not talking about Israel. I'm not talking about the Israelis. I'm not even talking about the entire Israeli government. I'm saying there's two people which hold, unfortunately, a lot of the power right now. The government. Two people want to see the extinction of the Palestinian people. Okay. That's what's happening. Two people in the government that hold, unfortunately, an enormous amount of power, disproportionate to their representation, both in their opinion as well as their percentage of population. Okay, and they do want to see. In fact, one of them said, "There's no such thing as the Palestinian people. What are you talking about?" It reminds me of nothing more than the Turks saying the same thing about the Armenians or the Kurds. There's no such thing as Armenians or Kurds. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of denial, right? I mean, I guess at least the Germans acknowledged.
Egypt?
Yeah. at least
I
the
just
Germans
turned into
acknowledged.
Hecklefish. I'm sorry, AJ. I turned into Hecklefish for a minute.
It's all good, but at least the Germans acknowledged the existence of the Jewish people, right?
Yeah, that's right.
At least they exist. Here they are, right? I mean, they might not have liked them, but they didn't say they didn't exist. Absolutely, they existed. So to say that these Palestinian people don't exist as a people is quite something. Now, especially since Palestine has been a thing for many hundreds of years, right? Long before Israel. But it's, again, that's neither here nor there. There is, in my opinion, a concerted effort to get rid of Palestinians altogether, at least in Gaza, right?
On the surface, that definitely seems to be what the world can see.
It's what it is. There's nothing else.
I'm being very careful how I word it.
No, but look, I don't, because it's the truth. It's the unvarnished truth, which nobody likes to hear. It's not that. Yes, it is that. Because the thing is this. Let's just play this through. Let's say the war stops tomorrow. Done. We're done now. Okay, the war's done. Israelis withdraw. They didn't go into action in Rafah, and only 35,000 people died. Okay, so it's done now. The question then becomes, what next? What next? What are the Gazans going to do? They're standing on a rubble field. They're standing on a rubble field. They're still, the Israelis still control all the border crossings. That hasn't changed. That never changed. That's part of the issue, right?
Do you want to
the Palestinians are still stuck in a rubble field. What do they do now?
Do you want to
Has
buy
their life
some
improved?
rubble?
I think their
we're
life.
going to see a lot more rubble on eBay.
Well, that happened after the German wall came down. That's funny, isn't it? But it's actually gotten significantly worse in Gaza in the last 6 months. Significantly worse. So there you are. All your infrastructure is gone. Hospitals, schools, roads, electricity, water. None of it is functioning.
What have they done?
What's going to happen
lately?
What's going to happen is this, right?
Roads,
so this is not going to be fixed in a hurry.
No, it's not.
And secondly, we're going to see outbreaks of diseases which we haven't seen in a long time, like cholera, typhoid, anything that's a waterborne thing is going to be carried here. People will still starve because the war has ended doesn't mean that all of a sudden everybody can eat.
I've got an idea.
Right?
I've got an idea.
Now that's gone.
Central bank. Install a central bank. Give huge loan, right, and rebuild. I reckon we call our friends from Halliburton, and they can assist in the rebuild. I love it. What a great idea!
You're looking for a job there, Dave, aren't you? I can hear you. Ding dong! Excuse me, Mr. Danger. We've got the job for you. Yes, I am Klaus Schwab. Come on board. Come on the bus.
And that's when I have a spittoon next to the front door, and I spit out the cyanide tablet. That's right.
That's what happens. No, but Dave, this is the thing, though, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because this help or this it will not materialize, right? And by the way, this is the best case scenario I just described. The war stops tomorrow. That's left. The best case.
Yeah, and the war stops. Yeah.
Yeah, war stops, but that's the best case scenario. What's actually going to happen is this: Israel is going to go into Rafah. They are going to, pursue their war against Hamas and quite possibly completely wipe it out. Of course, they're not, because none of the leaders of Hamas are actually in Gaza.
No,
not a one.
You be there, you get likelihood of being killed.
Well, that's the thing, right? Not only that.
You could do a ScoMo and go on holidays to Hawaii.
Let's go to Hawaii. Yeah, all the leaders, both Israeli and Hamas, all sitting at a beach in Hawaii, having a luau. Yeah, that's what happens. Look, I wouldn't be surprised. But the point is this:
it sounds like I'm making a joke. Yeah.
It's and okay, they're all hanging at the Bush Ranch. No, it's what we're going to see, because the best case scenario is not going to happen. The war's not going to stop tomorrow. This is going to drag on. It will kill tens of thousands more.
Mm-hmm.
There will be no Palestinians in Gaza. The Gazans will have to vacate. The Palestinians will have to vacate Gaza. That's what's going to happen. There will be no Palestinians in Gaza anymore, because you can't live there. It's rubble. It's literally like living in the Stone Age. There's nothing at all that you. Sorry.
Just pave over it. Done.
Pave over it. I'm sure that's what Netanyahu would love to do. But the point is, it literally is like living in a Stone Age, because none of the amenities that we take for granted exist anymore. None of them. Zero. Right?
That's true. That is true.
The three most basic things you need to live, which are food, water, and shelter, can no longer be met in that area.
That's right.
You can no longer have a population there that is 2 or 3 million strong. It's just not possible. The infrastructure is completely gone. So I'm sorry, no. Even if, like I said, if the war stopped tomorrow, the Palestinians will have to leave Gaza. They have to go somewhere else. Don't know where. Don't know, but you can't stay there, right? Best case scenario. So so that's why I say this is in fact genocide, and I also believe it is premeditated, because Netanyahu specifically allowed for money to go into Gaza to support Hamas to do what it needed to do. He wanted Hamas to attack. Okay, now I'm not saying that he planned the attack and carried it on himself, but similar to many other, not necessarily false flag, but certainly assisted attacks on various targets, Pearl Harbor comes to mind, right? We know that it's very effective, and I think that's exactly what happened here. And if you say, nobody would sacrifice their own citizens, I pity you, and I urge you very strongly to open any history book, any page, and have a look what leaders are doing all the time, every day, to their own populations. Never mind other populations, their own populations. It's a fact. It's not a crazy conspiracy theory. It's what actually happens. It's what history tells us it has happened, and it will continue to happen into the future, Dave. No doubt. Right? But it's the scale of misery. It's not unimaginable, because we can imagine a lot. But it's I believe, look, in my opinion, it's completely unacceptable. I don't know.
So I know there's a good question I'm going to ask here is, would you prefer to be at the beginning of a world depopulation event or at the end? See, it's only a question, and I saw something. I know I mentioned half of this, I think, last week, but the other half is the Australia being the best place on the planet, that New Zealand, but maybe if I'm going to include Australia, then it's Tasmania as well. It's being the best place, and we could have the entire population of the Earth living here. Well, whatever was left, right, in a large catastrophe, and I think to myself, well, that's pretty lucky of us, right? It's pretty lucky. I think we'd still have some famine going on, pretty hard slog, but we could get through. And I think about the Georgia Guidestones a lot, Mackie. I can't help it. So I watched a show today, which was an English. It's kind of like Spicks and Specks, but it's not. It's an English game show, but only for celebrities. It's quite funny. It's from 2017, and David, one of the normal guests on the show, was saying angrily how he thought back then, with the Trump getting into power, it was the dark day for the planet. He was saying angrily.
I know.
And that was 2017. I think it's the Big Bad Quiz or whatever it's called, right? And I'm shocked that we've since then every successive year has been worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's crazy how it's not getting better. We now have big tech now shedding jobs like they never needed them in the first place. Telstra is 2,800 or something, they said.
Yeah, 10%. 9%, not 10, 9%. That's funny, right?
Yeah.
They're just not. If they had made it 3,000, it would have been 10%. That's hilarious, isn't it?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So there is a whole bunch going on right now that is, they say we're not in a recession. Well, if we're not in a recession, why is big tech shedding? I'll wait for you. Oh, house prices. No, but that house prices aren't included in the calculation for a recession or even in economic situation. They don't count it. It's not even a thing. It's a shopping trolley full of food. So I wonder, Becky, because that question, would you prefer to be at the beginning of the depopulation or at the end? I think it has a lot of merit right now. We're seeing, how many? 100,000 in Russia and Ukraine now, minimum.
Looks like.
Yeah. Now the ATACMS are there, and great acronym, ATACMS. Yeah. Those missiles do a great job. I don't want to be on the discovery end of it, but certainly the goodbye end of it, where you launch it somewhere, that's not so bad. But I'm a fan of warfare and technology, but not its use. I like how it counters itself. It seesaws from one side to another, and you do something to counter the thing they've just done, and then they've got to counter the thing you just made. I love that. I love that about whatever it is. It's a problem being solved. And I'm a solutions guy. I love that. I love that component of it. And, technological advancement. Wow, that's fantastic. But it comes at a pile of dead bodies, is what everything that we have. Wartime especially. There's a pile of people that won't see it through. They didn't see it through. But we now have this wonderful technology, whatever it is. And it surprises me no end that this is yet another show in another month where there's worse things going on.
Yeah.
I'm not being a pessimist here. It's just, just looking at the news. And where's the de-escalation?
You know what's funny?
There's nothing.
There's a really interesting correlation here. So you're right. It isn't de-escalating. In fact, if you want to talk about, kitchen analogy, the heat is being turned up. Right? That's what we're seeing. And increasingly, and not just in one place. So, then from a natural point of view, we're seeing more and more disasters. That doesn't help. But at the same, and then of course, politically, we see a rise of the right and the left. So the extreme polarization of societies is happening. But what is really interesting, while yes, we now have meat waves, and we have got the brutalization of an entire generation of young people in several conflicts around the world, right? And we are losing young people by the hundreds of thousands now every year in these conflicts.
Yeah.
At the same time, and I find this fascinating, at the same time, and I'm not attacking anyone here, I'm just stating a fact, we see what's the best word? The softening? No, softening is maybe, I don't want to give it any value judgment, But we see a move away from, I guess, a hardened stance to life, a life that is built on trying to achieve and trying to build and trying to do more and be more. We're moving away from that to a life, especially in the West, to inclusiveness and permissiveness, and to the point where we're all winners, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And people, again, soft is the wrong word, but it conveys the right meaning. I don't mean it derogatory one, okay? I don't at all. It's just what it is. People are becoming increasingly incapable of looking after themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Life skills, right? I think less and less people choose to serve in the army. Less and less people, in my opinion, enjoy maybe, like real camping, like with a shovel, I'm talking about, right? And learning life skills that are important. Also understanding that losing is part of life, and working hard is part of life. If you want to achieve something, if you don't want to achieve, then don't worry about it. I'm not pushing anyone in any direction. Far be it from me. But people are forgetting the fundamentals of life. So you've got the brutalization, killing of a whole generation of young people. At the other hand, you've got a pampering and mollycoddling of a generation of young people at the other end of the spectrum. Right? And I find it fascinating. And they're bringing laws in as well that regulate especially men's behavior. We're being, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but they're trying to breed aggression out of us, while at the same time they're waging extremely brutal wars in other parts of the world. It's a real contradiction, I think.
Dichotomy, totally.
Very strange.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. When am I going to get my participation award? I know I'm Gen X, and we just played on our own. We played outside. We had very little tech until at least the Game & Watch and Pong came about. There wasn't very much at all. Lucky you could find a stick outside to play with. And, we had bikes and we would ride around and we'd play in the creek or in the bush. The bushland kind of joined different areas together, where usually the not so easy to build sites. And so these bushlands were where we would play. We did all that, did it outside. And this next generation just lives inside. Look, it's probably good. It's probably right that they should do that because, the sun's harmful. And, that's all you want to do is develop a really nice hump, says Mr. Burns. Right? Wearing an over too small suit. I think our kids are going to. If I thought for a minute when we had the best posture, when was that? When was it that we were actually able to achieve the best posture? Like I think Gen X, Gen Y, maybe even Gen Y.
Yeah.
But not anymore. Every single person you see is hunched over on their tech. No one's sitting back relaxed with good posture using it. And that's only going to cause really severe back problems, neck problems, eye problems, all the shoulder, arm, forearm, fingers, everything. Now we're holding something perpetually. The other thing is eyesight. Because the screen is white with black writing and not dark screen, then we're providing an overabundance of light for what we would have read on paper. I've considered this over and over again. And I think if we get there, in the next 10 years, we'll see an acute rise of eye problems.
Oh yeah.
So if you can, darken the screen on your phone as much as possible. If you've got your computer, make it the dark version, so it's everything's black unless it's white writing, and that's much better for you. I know it seems counterintuitive, but we were used to reflected light when we saw things, not things that generated light. There was no light on the flame of a candle. Sorry, there was no writing on the flame of a candle. I'll fix that in post. And for this, we didn't stare at the bright thing and try and make out letters on it. We just didn't. The light globe had writing on it, told you the wattage and the brand, but you never looked at it while it was on. And now we're looking at everything while it's on, the bright light. I think there's something in that. Besides all the bad posture, and no one's got any real, athleticism anymore. And I look around to the very few kids at our school that my kids go to that are athletic at all. There are a few that walk all the way home, but there are certainly hundreds of children that are picked up by their parents. And it's like, wow, really? I walked kilometers home when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
When I went to high school, I rode my bicycle probably about 9 Ks.
And through the snow, thank you very much. If I hadn't worn earmuffs, they would have frozen off. And I'm not meaning this euphemistically.
Uphill in both directions.
Both directions, and the nights were darker. No, but look, absolutely. And my bike was my life, to be honest with you. My push bike. And I used to ride through the snow. The snow was, halfway between the ankle and the knee at that time, right?
Wow.
And, it's like in Germany, it snows, so, and literally if I hadn't had my earmuffs, and certainly gloves, but earmuffs, my ears would have frozen off.
Totally.
Because not only is it cold, but you've got the wind shear as well,
Wind chill.
The wind chill, rather, I should say. So you're right, Dave. We were, and Germans are different. Anyway, that's like this German parenting book, funnily enough, which is really a hands-off kind of affair. Like you let your kids do what they need to do, and let them be, right, and let them play, but don't be a helicopter parent. That's how Germans parent anyway. And that's how, it was before my brother was born, so I was younger than 8, probably 5 or 6, I want to say. And I was roaming around the neighborhood all day long by myself or with my friends. And I was very safe because it was sort of like a closed-in block of many units with no through traffic. So inside you could really play a lot as a kid. But there was no adults, and at lunch I would go home, and at dinner I would go home. But that was pretty much it. In fact, my father couldn't find me to tell me that my brother had been born. They had to go look for me.
Wow.
Right. So this is exactly how it used to. Or maybe still is. I don't know. But now, even I do this, and I drop my kids off at school. I pick them up. It is slightly further than I used to go. It is, and there's more traffic. The one thing I will say is, which is true, Dave, there's a lot more traffic today than there was in my day. Okay. I will make that concession, right? And maybe, I don't know, it'll be, maybe it'll change again, I don't know. Or maybe it depends on the location you're in. But I think most of us have become helicopter parents. I really do.
That's a good point about the traffic. There's the same amount of bad people per capita, right? So there's
definitely
still the same amount. I know because it happened when I was at school. But the helicopter parenting, like if I had to give any advice, you have one child, you kind of helicopter quite a bit, and a second child, way less. It's less than 50%. And then the third, I'll just leave it up to them. I'm sure they've hit a crucial size they'll be looking after themselves now. And 4, I'm sure we had children. There's probably somewhere. They'll be all right. It's crazy. The first child, millions of photos. Second child, not so many photos. Third child, lucky to find a photo with them in it. Unless it's a family outing. It's kind of the way we should have done the first child.
Yeah.
It kind of is. I say kind of. I'm a loving parent. I love my kids. Medical issues all over the place with one of them. Love her to bits. The other one is a little bit more self-sufficient, although requires a lot of parental assistance to get around to all the social events and everything that she's involved in. Not as much as some. I know some sporting parents and certainly some musical parents who have a lot of duty in their children's lives. I understand it. I mean, I was married. I'm not married anymore. My ex-wife was an Olympic ice skater, and there was a lot of parenting responsibility around having her to training sessions at all crazy times of the day, or early morning, whenever the rink was open. So, because you can't have public people, you can't have people in there. So I get it. I know people who have dancing children, children who dance, and they've got to go around the world for competitions and things like that. It's something else. I know parents today are not like the parents when we grew up. Certainly, the don't speak unless you're spoken to. Children will be seen and not heard. That's where I grew up, surprisingly. But today, I engage my children in conversation. I even know I play the games with them, whatever they're playing, computer games, whatever. And I love the fact that I can do it. It's a different kind of relationship that I had with my parents that I'm having with my kids. So different. And I do try. I think the winning thing is treating them like a human and not, don't ignore them. Be there. It's your only chance. Whatever day it is in their life is a chance to be with them in their life and be present in yours. I think that's the most valuable advice that I can give to anybody. Because after today, you'll never get yesterday back again.
That's true.
You can't redo it. There's no do-over. There's no extra credit. And what you think might be special isn't what they think is going to be special. It's not the same. I thought, I'll take them down to the shops, or I'll do this. I'll take them somewhere, and it's against what they want. But it's an experience. At least we're having one of those combined experiences that I talk about, collective experience where we all have the same experience. And I remember driving around what I think is the best racetrack in the world. That's Bathurst, Mount Panorama. And I said, "Hey kids, we're here." And they looked up from their phones and looked out the window for maybe maximum 2 seconds. I went, "Oh," and they went back to their phones again. Didn't care. Couldn't care less. It was like I was Clark Griswold. And I was forcing a moment onto them, saying, "Hey, enjoy the thing that I'm enjoying." And they don't care. They don't care. But I walk into the room when they're playing a computer game and go, what are you playing? They go, "Oh, this." Okay, cool. I'll be in there in a minute. "Oh yeah, great." And then we have a better experience that way. It's really magical to be able to name a whole bunch of things they like.
Mm-hmm.
Who's their famous YouTuber that they love to watch? What game do they like to play? What music do they listen to? So when I'm driving the car, they get to put their music on. I love it. And then we get to sing along. It's truly amazing. It's such a different experience. And I never thought that's where I'd be. Because if I used my parents' upbringing, I'd barely know their birth dates.
Sure.
Isn't it? Isn't it different?
Dave who?
What? Yeah. So I have to laugh because, I think this whole thing started from, overuse of mobile phones. And I apologise to everyone who might disagree with me. But if you do, happy to receive comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, do comment, like, and subscribe. Share it with others. Not for my parental advice. You take it or leave it. I don't really care. But maybe share one of your own experiences. That'd be fantastic. And if you're in the chat room, same deal. Same applies for you guys. And if you don't know where the chat room is, it's revolution.radio, and do donate to the station, and it helps it all go around and contribute either through messaging the host while we're on air, or buy some merch for yourself. And now back to you in the studio, Becky.
Well, thanks for that shill there. That always works. It's good to make some cash. No, seriously, that's good stuff. If we can make look, I'd love to just do this, and probably some documentaries and things for a living rather than what I actually do. But I can assure you right now, none of this is paying any bills for anyone. But it does give me time to work on my book, of which I've got a few chapters now. So
awesome.
We'll see how. Oh yeah, it's all right. It's okay. We'll see how that all falls together. I'll tell you when I'm ready to publish, and I expect at least one or two of you to buy it. That'd be nice. I similarly would encourage you to buy Dave's mum's book. Dave has published it himself on Amazon. Had a few sales already.
Sold another couple of copies.
Yeah. So if you are, it's actually. Look, I haven't read it, but I've read the reviews, and it looks like it's a really good read. So if you like, I guess, what's the mystery, thriller, crime?
Yep.
I guess is this the genre? If that's your bag, you could do worse than read that book. Right, so sorry, was it a room with 3 windows? Was it? Or what was it called?
No, the house with 3 doors.
I knew there was 3 in a house of some sort. But it open still. Yeah, it's the house with 3 doors. Hardcover by Wendy B. Dunger, if you want to have a look. I still got the page open, so maybe I should have just gone to the page before I said what the title was. That's a good idea.
I just got myself the author copies.
Nice.
And I've got one for my father so I can present it to him and make his day. And I've got one for myself.
That's awesome, brother.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's funny, it's a piece of your mum's. But it's more than just a piece. This is something that her mind made.
That's
you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's yeah, of course you do. Out there in the world as well.
She even wrote it.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
See, that's even better.
Yeah.
Look, if you're out there in the world, why don't you sit down, make a video, write down something or whatever your bag is, and leave something for someone. Okay, give it to them now. Or bequeath it to them after you depart. Either way, it'll leave a legacy. It's a window into your mind. I used to write when I was traveling more for work. I used to write to my children in a diary as I was flying over the Atlantic or Pacific or wherever I was.
Oh, that's
I would
lovely.
write. Yeah, look, some of it was stream of consciousness. Some was maybe pretentious ramblings. But maybe some of it had some value, and I tried to keep the tickets in there and any hotel stops or whatever. So it might tell a bit of a story to my kids one day as to where I was, and I always tell them where I'm writing it in that book. So once I'm gone, they are more than happy. I'm more than happy for them to go to town on that book. But I was traveling a lot back in the day. Not so much now after COVID. It sort of died down. And I'll be honest with you. I don't mind. I don't mind. Traveling is fun when you're young. Really fun. Yeah. gets less fun as you get older. Trust me on that. And I don't care what kind of travel you do. It's just hard on you. It really is. I used to do the stretches between Sydney and Dallas. That used to be the longest flight at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 14 or 15 or even 16 hours straight flight. That was hard.
Yeah.
And I used to do that a couple of times a year, back and forth. And then from Dallas, we would go to Orlando or somewhere, then back. And then I remember one year, I think I went to Asia, I went to Europe, I went to America, and I came back to Australia. So I went to 4 continents in a month, I think. If I remember correctly. That was nuts, because I was in Barcelona. Before that, I was in Orlando. And then I also spent time in Singapore. And then I came back to Australia again. So, it's... and I got to the point, Dave, I know I'm rambling now, but it's only a few minutes. I got to the point where I would doze off at an airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, you're waiting for and you might be in the lounge or not. Maybe this airport doesn't have a lounge, or your pass doesn't let you in it, or whatever. But I might be in a lounge. I might have had a drink and something to eat, then I doze off. And then you come to. And it's sort of twilight. It could be morning. It could be evening. You're not sure. Is the sun rising or setting?
How long was I sleeping?
Sure. Yeah. I know, right? And then you go, where am I? Because I don't care what people say. All airports virtually look the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's especially in the lounges. There's very little difference between any of them. And I remember a number of times where I woke up and I really had to think there for a second as to where I was. And why was I in the lounge? Am I waiting for a flight? What's happening here? How much time do I have? That's not a good place to
the
be.
Next flight leave that I'm on.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right. Look, yeah, it's but you start to appreciate the little things. Like I remember we came from Sydney and stopped in Dallas, and we had access, because we're Qantas, we had access to the Admiral's Lounge. Right? If you have been to Dallas Fort Worth, that's actually a really cool little lounge, and the showers there and the facilities are just phenomenal. So you have to sign yourself in and then put your name down for the shower, and then off you go, right? And you can have the shower as long as you want. And I went there and had the shower, had jets in the side, and it had jets from the top, like similar to your shower at home, Mr. Moneybags. And it was just such a great thing to be able to take a shower after like a 16-hour flight, because we had another, I think, 6 or 7 hours ahead of us. But then you rest for 5-6 hours, have the shower, have a meal, and it's like you're reborn. And I recommend to anyone, if you get the opportunity, do take a shower if you can. And if you're lucky enough to get into the Admiral's Lounge at Dallas Fort Worth, please do. It is worth it. I'm going to have a little segment now at the end of every show, Dave. Mackie's travel tips. Travel tips for the well-traveled. Actually, that's not a bad idea, We could do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We really could.
Diversify, that's what I say.
Yeah. So you're here, born. You're here at the inception of the birth, I want to say, of a new idea that Dave and Mackie might take forward, having a travel segment on Revolution Radio. Why not?
Well, look, for those of you who live in Vanuatu, we apologise if this is causing you any stress.
New Caledonia?
Yes.
Yeah. I was there for a conference in Noumea. Nice. You would think you're in France, really, right?
That's right.
But what's happening there now? Good Lord, I didn't see that coming. But I guess you never know. You never know.
Every car is damaged from half down from the door to the sill at the bottom of the car.
Oh,
they're all damaged and it's all car parking damage.
Wow.
Parking their cars.
Wow.
Every car.
Wow. Well, got to damage it somehow.
No.
What? No, you don't. That's not what you do.
It isn't.
It's not. Why you say these things? Oh, I just made it back, by the way. I got back from exercising. I did about 12 kilometers just before the show.
I was wondering when your Skype icon was going to go green.
I know, right? And it just zoop, there it is. And I just literally, I'm still sweaty and stinky. I haven't had a shower, but there's the music. Okay, now look. Thank you so much for bearing with us for this hour, especially the last 5 minutes. We hope you had some enjoyment. Maybe you learned something. Maybe we opened your eyes to new perspective. This has been Plato's Cave. Don't go anywhere. There'll be something else connected that's awesome. But most of all, of course, as always,